I think it's time to have a difficult conversation about glitch productions. Well, difficult if you're a hater. As to be expected, the more Glitch grows as a studio, the more pessimistic people seem to be about it. And it's not just animation fans, but people who work in the industry, all essentially making the point that it's too good to be true, that it's not sustainable, and for one reason or another, it'll all fall apart or turn out like any other big corporation. I've seen claims like, Glitch seems like the kind of studio that'll inevitably screw its creators over. Their quote-unquote indie pipeline isn't that much better than the regular industry. What do you mean they're relying on viewership and merch sales in order to produce more episodes? They just reinvented the wheel. Oh, they're just making indie slop. I don't see much of a difference between this and Pibby. All they do is crank out pilots and not full shows. You get the idea. We're witnessing a coalition of creatives come together to seize a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and bring to life these unique, visually distinct stories that the major studios just aren't interested in pursuing. Like it or not, Glitch is putting in the most work to salvage and fix animation's dying reputation in the mainstream. And it's not just because their shows are absurdly popular. Let's talk about it. I want to start by answering a question that I've seen a lot over the last year or so. Is Glitch still considered indie? And the answer is yes. When most people think of indie, they think of a very small team coming together, usually with crowdfunding, and dedicating what's usually years of their lives to producing a single piece of animation, whether that be a short, a pilot, or just one more episode of their series. It goes up on YouTube, and that's that. Glitch is a studio with multiple shows in production, and at this point has dozens, if not hundreds of employees working on these shows. And while yes, they still rely on crowdfunding, their infrastructure is a lot more solid than the average starving artist. Instead of something like Patreon, they have the Glitchin'. Wait, is that supposed to be like glitching? Oh my god! And they've grown to a point where they have merch ready for their pilots, so that if you want to see more show and want to support them while immediately getting something out of it, something that also acts as a piece of fandom, you'll have that option as soon as you finish the first episode of what might be your new favorite show. Not to mention, not only are they collaborating with companies on an international level, but they're also working with major streaming services right here in the United States, with Digital Circus being made available on Netflix and Murder Drones over on Prime Video. And I imagine more shows will roll out to both these platforms once there's a solid number of episodes. And yet, despite all this, Glitch is still indie. I don't know how to break it to you guys, but indie isn't synonymous with being a broke bitch. And that's coming from a broke bitch. Let's run these numbers up. Indie simply means you're independent. The studio isn't owned by another corporation, like how Cartoon Network is owned by Warner, Nickelodeon is owned by Paramount, Disney TVA is of course owned by Disney, Glitch is owned by two brothers, Kevin and Luke, and that's it. Yes, they have more resources than your average ragtag group of animators, but as of now, they still have significantly less than the top dogs, since they aren't backed by billion-dollar corporations. It feels like the bigger they get, the more difficult it becomes to define them, but it really shouldn't be. As long as they're owned by Kevin and Luke, then they're an independent studio. You know what else is independent? Laika! Granted, that's due to nepotism, as the studio is run by Travis Knight, who's the son of Phil Knight, the co-founder of Nike, which is why they can still make whatever they want and put as much time as they need into it, because even if a movie flops, they're not gonna run out of resources anytime soon. I believe Glitch has simply set the ceiling for indie animation, mainly for those who are aspiring to create a full-blown animated series. And I think that's why so many people want to discredit them as indie, because they know that ceiling is very hard to reach. And if casual viewers use Glitch as the gold standard for indie animation, then it'll be harder for the smaller scale projects to thrive, because it just can't match Glitch's level of quality, which I think is only as true as you let it be. Series like Pretty Please I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl can show that even without full-blown animation, indie can still prosper and amass a huge following. You'll never reach the level of Glitch if you're too intimidated to even try, and if you're already waving the white flag because you think no one will watch or this can't be as popular as such and such show. And to be real, yes, the Glitch Bros have been absurdly blessed by the algorithm, launching numerous successful web series for years, going all the way back to MSG4. The stars are in like perpetual alignment with them. But you know who's more aware of that than anyone else? Kevin and Luke, which is why they're making the most of Glitch by sharing their platform and resources with other creatives. And this brings me to my next point, the reason why I believe Glitch has become the MVP of fixing animation's reputation. In so many words, they're making up for lost time. For a while, I didn't really get the vision behind Glitch Productions. I thought the shows were cool, but what was their mission? Was it just to create cool cartoons? Was it to give anyone a fair shot at making a show? Like, if you don't have much of a presence in the indie animation scene, was there a chance they could still pick up your show so long as it drummed up enough interest? Or are we only going with what the Glitch Bros find cool? Things became a bit more clear when they announced Glitch Presents, teaming up with Lackadaisy's team to produce the show without it having the label of a Glitch original. Now, I never read the Lackadaisy webcomic, so this was basically a brand new idea to me, but it wasn't until the announcement that Glitch picked up GAMEOVERSE that everything finally clicked. Ever since Murder Drones, Glitch has set out to platform and support talented artists and animators that they know are capable of creating fresh, engaging stories, but are in need of the resources to make them a reality. The people who have an impressive portfolio, who cultivated their own following, and have always gotten comments like, "Wow, they should give you a show on Cartoon Network." The people that are getting snubbed and fumbled by the major studios. Everyone we know would have made some bangers on TV, generational cartoons that would have had massive fan bases and still be talked about to this day. But because some exec couldn't see what we're seeing, they're just left to fend for themselves, making ends meet by working on other projects online or trying to find a studio job or, worst case scenario, pay the bills of an occupation that's completely unrelated from their passions. GAMEOVERSE is something that dates back to 2009, and Ross has been wanting to remake the series for years. I remember him talking about it 10 years ago, back when I was really into Game Grumps, but I'm assuming it didn't pan out because he likely couldn't afford a whole ass team, and animation takes such a long time, so if you're doing it on your own or with an extremely small team, you're gonna be working on it for a while. Lackadaisy started as a webcomic in 2008, nearly 20 years ago, and I'm sure a cartoon was something they've always aspired for, but even after a $2 million Kickstarter, they couldn't hold down the fort. Glitch saved them. After the Owl House got canceled, it might have taken years for Dana Terrace and other Owl House alumni to get something else picked up. Look at all the other showrunners from the 2010s. Alex Hirsch never got his Netflix show off the ground, going back to Gravity Falls in the form of books. J.G. Quintel went back to a regular show after Close Enough got screwed over, and Rebecca Sugar's going back to Steven Universe. Point is, if Glitch didn't approach Dana and say, "Hey, let's make some cool shit," we'd probably be years off from seeing another show from her. And clearly giving these creatives a platform has paid off, as pretty much all of these shows, just from their pilots, have eclipsed pretty much all the new cartoons from major studios. The exceptions being IP that were already absurdly popular, like Gumball, King of the Hill, and Fiona and Cake, or shows that are helmed by online creatives. Has-Been Hotel, Smiling Friends, Aha You Clowns. And the result are immensely popular animated series that are putting some respect on the word cartoon again. It's no secret that the 2020s have been rough for cartoons. Shows with an epic overarching story have pretty much died out on cable, and while I detest the sentiment that all new cartoons look the same, I do believe art styles from cartoons produced by these major studios over the last few years have felt more homogenous than ever. Meanwhile, Glitch clearly champions visual diversity. Whether they're 2D or 3D, none of these shows look the same. These shows are getting people talking. They're getting them to create fan art, memes, theories, you name it. A culture that almost died out for new cartoons in particular. And because these shows are as accessible as you can get, being streamed for free on YouTube and dubbed in multiple languages, they naturally have a massive audience, the size of which that surpasses anything that's behind a paywall, whether that be cable or streaming. I'll die on the hill that if it wasn't for Glitch and other studios that are taking a chance on online creatives, the only animation people would be giving active attention to are nostalgic properties, animated blockbusters, and anime. Not to mention, Glitch's continued existence is creating animation jobs at a time where they're very hard to come by. Now yes, they don't pay as well as studio jobs. They aren't unionized. I don't know what the benefits are like, but if there are any, I imagine it's not as great as somewhere like Disney or Nickelodeon. This is mainly a point of concern for the people who work in the industry, but let's just keep it a buck. I'm pretty sure Glitch now has more in production than Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, or Disney. And unless I'm missing something, I imagine that means they're creating more jobs in each individual studio, unless you want to factor in things like IT. But this brings me to my last point. Guys, just be patient. Whether if you work in the industry or are just a fan of Glitch Productions. If you're working in the industry, yeah, of course they're not gonna pay as much as the biggest studios yet. Once again, they aren't owned by a billion-dollar corporation, and they're also relatively young. But guess what? Things will get better with time as they continue to release more shows. The Amazing Digital Circus has clearly already done wonders for them. I doubt they'd have 5 series that we know of if they were in the same position that they found themselves in a year or two ago. And if you're that skeptical about them, be honest with yourselves. Do you think Dana and 90% of the Owl House alumni would be working at Glitch if they thought there wasn't a chance for growth for the studio to get to a point where they're able to take care of their employees as well as Disney? If not better, they already have way more creative freedom than they did at the Mouse, which is something I know industry artists desire. Who wouldn't? And for the fans, stop acting like every series is canceled or not moving forward just because you haven't heard anything in a couple of months. I tweeted this out, but you can walk into a GameStop or Hot Topic right now and acquire a plush of a Glitch character. Once again, that doesn't mean they're not indie. Plenty of YouTubers have merchant stores too, and I'd only consider one of them a soulless corporation. If something has over 10 million views and merchandise in stores, then you can probably assume it's not going anywhere. We'll learn more when they have something to show us. That's what those Glitch directs are for. I obviously understand wanting transparency, but at the level they're at, we're beyond the point where you can just tweet at a creator and go, episode 2 when? And expect them to respond with a complete timetable. It'd be nice, but they've just grown beyond that. They have plans for when they want to unveil these things. And I'm sure everyone working there has signed an NDA. One other thing I wanted to mention was Glitch is really good at having a presence online. They're bringing back all the things we've lost with the rise of social media and streaming. Whether that's a dope browser game or insanely fun skits that remind me of the golden days of Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. They have the crown, and they're using it to set hella examples for everyone else, which is why I believe they're fixing animation. Yeah, we can't expect them to repair an entire industry, especially when they're in Australia, but the work they're doing should not be overlooked, nor constantly met with so much pessimism. If you don't vibe with a show, that's fine. Not everything is gonna be meant for you, but the amount of reaching I've seen to hate on Glitch, or just create panic within people, or even trying to strong-arm them into making certain announcements has just been sad to see, and I wanted to hop on my soapbox and yap about it for a bit. But for now, these are just my thoughts, and I want to hear yours. How do you feel about Glitch? Do you consider it indie at this point? Let us know in the comments down below. And keep the conversation going over on Twitter and Instagram at AllStrikeVox and at Roundtable Vids. If you enjoyed this video, please sort of like and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. Peace!
What we do here is go back.
Need something to throw on while you draw, study, or sleep? Roundtable Rewind's got you covered. So why not take a stroll down memory lane and subscribe?
No one can tell me what to do.
See you there.